People are so results driven, especially when they get in a reactive state. If they look and business is down, or there's some new competitors in their space, or they just lost a big client, or they've reached a certain pain point where it's causing them to be reactive. Say, oh my gosh, we need to fix this. Or someone's getting fired. Our heads are gonna start rolling.
Welcome to the Love Your Brand podcast. If you're looking for real conversations with real people, you're the right place. Let's go!
Let's go. Welcome to the Love Your Brand podcast show, ladies and gents.
Podcast show,
baby.
What's up, everybody?
Took a small little hiatus, but you probably didn't even realize it because we had some filler cast.
It's been a minute.
Been a minute. We've got some new guests lined up. They will be coming through the pipeline in the next week or so. And might I just remind you, that's the beginning. And if you're interested in coming on and shooting the breeze and tell your story in hopes that we can guide this crazy society of marketers and entrepreneurs in today's world with any kind of nugget of wisdom that we can hopefully give to help you succeed. That is our number one goal. The Love Your Brand Marketing Podcast. Well, it goes way beyond marketing. Let's be real. It's about life in general, you know?
Storytelling.
Storytelling, business, balance.
I was visiting my parents this past weekend, and I was showing my dad a hunk of junk when we had Brandon on. You know, you got junk removal. And so, I mean, you think about it, you're like, how exciting can junk removal be? And that was an awesome episode as Brandon guided us through some of the finds he had when he goes into these houses, you know, and so my dad and I were just cracking up at that. And so what we found, we had funeral home, owner, Greg Arnold on one of our last episodes, the exciting journey of what happens in a funeral home, how it grows. Even there was some very interesting things he shared about, it's not just cremation and burials that happen now. There's a lot more things that people can explore for, when a loved one moves on from this life. So we've had some very interesting stories, and we're always having an open invitation to other people to come share their stories.
Absolutely. I'd say it's a very unique time right now in business in general. I think the biggest word that someone gave me was unpredictable. I know a lot of people rely on forecast and projections, but let's face it, today, now, you have to be a lot more bold, way more community-driven, authentic, and you've got to tell a whole lot of stories. You've got to get yourself out there in multiple fashions and in multiple outlets. And you've got to be direct. Someone told me the other day, I was telling them that your messaging needs to be about, I felt bad at saying like a third or fourth grade level. So I bumped it up to eighth grade level because I just felt very bad just saying that. That's what we came to. Like, what are we going to start marketing with? Hieroglyphics? Like grunts? I mean, I don't know. People do not read. Very rarely. They like to listen. Point is, a lot of people have a short attention span nowadays.
Well, and it's not, we can't blame them. There's distractions everywhere. Our advertisements, it's said that we have thousands of advertisements that we're exposed to on a daily basis. It used to be just driving down the road and kind of seeing a billboard on the side of the road. But now everywhere you turn, you open your weather app and you get hit with 5 ads just while you're looking at your local weather for the week. And so everywhere you turn, there's an ad. And so if your message is not so crystal clear, concise, and speaking at an elementary school level, people are going to look right past it. Because, dude, you ever had, you remember classes in college that were, so heavy focused, maybe science or biology or something, after, an hour, your brain just felt like it was going to explode? Your brain's consuming calories. And so it has to be a third, fourth, fifth grade level. You went up to eighth grade. Yeah. You remember that show, You Got to Be Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Man,
Some of those questions?
I felt bad.
I don't know the answer.
I couldn't say it. I felt bad. I felt like, man, I was just not giving everyone enough credit But I know you've seen it. It's you've got a bunch of click happy people. They don't read. They click. Call them click crazy.
Clickbait.
Yeah, doom scrolling, click crazy, you name it. So, I think now you've got to be more targeted, very, very targeted and niche. Very intentional with your messaging. That way, of course, you can compete at a higher level. And definitely you need to go through a strategy session prior. People don't like to pay for the S word. I always say that, and they're like, "Man, what's the S word?" I'm like, strategy. They don't like to pay for strategy. They enjoy paying for execution and implementation because it's tangible stuff that they can feel and touch, right? But, like me and Jay Hill were talking earlier, you can't have one without the other, right? You can.
Strategy and implementation?
Yeah.
They go hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
You can have them without
macaroni
the
and
other,
cheese.
But, they're not as good separately. Like, you get a little peanut butter and you try to eat it. You ever given a dog peanut butter? That's what it's like. Yeah.
Just chewing and chomping.
Or just straight jelly. Like, if it's polymer, yeah, I could probably eat that. But
polymer?
Yeah,
What's
some
polymer?
All-fruit jelly.
Okay.
My wife
I like honey.
buys.
Some
No,
local honey.
honey, that's a different story. I can just turn it up and go to town.
Get turned.
Give me a little honey boost in the middle of the day.
There you go. But you bring up a point. We have so many clients that come our way and they just say, I need a website. I need a new brochure. We can implement that. We can execute that and give them that deliverable. But it's really a strategy you need to come in. Do you need a brochure? Do you need a website? Let us strategize, build you kind of a blueprint or a roadmap, and then you got to execute on it. But any marketing book you read today talk about how business failed because there's no implementation, there's no execution, because everybody comes in high level. Let's go here. We're going to take over the world. We're going to boom, boom, boom. We're going to show up here on social. We're going to have this e-commerce. We're going to have this. And then they don't do anything about it. Mm. And that strategy, you just spent a lot of money for a strategy with no results, no implementation.
Yeah, exactly. And there's another huge gap that I've seen. We always talk about it, branding and marketing. Mm-hmm. People are so results driven, especially when they get in a reactive state, right? If they look and business is down, or there's some new competitors in their space, or they just lost a big client, or they've reached a certain pain point to where it's causing them to be reactive and say, oh my gosh, we need to fix this, or someone's getting fired, or heads are going to start rolling, right? They get to that point, then it's real easy to fall into a commodity bucket. Yep. Because they're hopping online, they're filling in every form they can fill in off a Google search. They're chatting with anybody that has a chat bot because nobody wants to make a call anymore and leave a message.
Nope.
I think I've got one phone call in the last 4 or 5 months. It was very refreshing, to be honest. They're in a reactive state, and by that time, it's almost too late. So I guess, the challenge is, how do you get into the conversation while they're in a proactive state? Maybe they're having the best year ever, right? Maybe they're doing great. Sales are awesome. They've got a 10-year-old website. They've got a dozen salespeople just, beating the ground, making cold calls. They've got connections, referrals. They're just in a space where, it doesn't matter. Our visibility really is irrelevant. We're growing. We're scared. We're making great money. Revenue is up. Why? Why even look at, coming up with a visibility plan, coming up with a growth strategy or a diversification strategy? Or why do we not take a step back and invest in our brand culture, right? Why don't we do a brand audit? Why don't we see what our customers are saying about us when we're not in the room? Why don't we see what our employees are saying about us when we're not in the room? We're having a killer year. exemplary year. Why not invest at that time in your space? Because things can change like that. You know, I think we've had the pleasure to engage with a few companies that were very prosperous, and you know, to be honest, it's like, well, why do we need marketing? Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to do that? And to be honest, all it takes is a fresh set of eyes to find those little gaps where, well, that can suddenly change in a day, in a week, in 6 months. The problem is if you wait, then you're 6 months behind, 12 months behind, a year and a half behind. And, you know, competitors, they could easily jump into that space. Things could change. So why not be constantly proactive? You know, I always say stuff like SEO, PPC, LinkedIn, especially B2B. That's what we love. We love B2B customers in the industrial space. They've got a market now. They've got a market just like a B2C company. Different language, but definitely the same visibility approach. Proactive is always better.
I think an important point to note is that if there's one thing to know about marketing, it's that it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And so if these businesses, let's say sales are good, revenue is strong and constantly increasing today, so they may think, why do I need to change? Our trajectory is good, our forecasting is good, but because the landscape constantly changes, what's working today might not work tomorrow or next month. So what happens when that number one vehicle that's generating all your revenue goes poo-poo? It goes under. You know, then you're having to pivot and you're saying, what do we do? As opposed to when things were going strong, add in something else to go with it, to where when this one goes away, you still have something and you're building. It's like building blocks on top of one another. And what comes to mind for me is, let's think about TikTok. What happened over the last month with TikTok? They went before Congress to ban it here in the U.S., right? TikTok is massive on social media. People having millions of following. If this thing goes through and TikTok's banned, anybody who had their business and so much of their community built on TikTok that hasn't taken off that platform, they're going to lose out. And so I would hope the businesses that are leveraging TikTok right now as an example are getting their users off of that platform and owning that data. And that's where social media comes into play. You said community earlier. Social media is the number one place to build a community. I was reading something today from a girl I follow. She said social media is not the place to sell. You don't sell on social media. People do with e-commerce. You buy some shirts, you buy some things. But primarily, social media is that community building atmosphere. And it's a way for people to see your brand, what matters to your brand. You can see that so safely, so clearly. But you need to have some kind of opt-in. You need to have some kind of lead generator, lead magnet, to where people want to hop off that platform, receive something of value you have to offer, to where now you own their email address. So let's say TikTok goes away tomorrow. Do you have access to those people? Because then email, today in 2024, it's said that for every $1 you spend on email, you can make $42. It's a 4,200% return on email that most people are not leveraging. And so the thing is, I'm not saying you have to go out and do email campaigns right now, but you better own that data to where when the time comes and you're nurturing out, you have that list. Tell me something else that's going to give you a 4,200% return. There's nothing close to that. Paid ads aren't going to do it. The website's not going to do it. SEO is not going to do it. Those are all things you need to do. We talk about SEO. You mentioned it as a light bill. That needs to be running all the time. X dollars per month to keep that thing going to where you're going to rank constantly at the top. But this thing with TikTok just opened my eyes. It was like, how many people are going to get caught, with their pants down if this thing goes away? And then you got to explore those things from where the opportunities with these things. What platform do you think is going to rise when TikTok goes away, if TikTok goes away? YouTube's going to go through the roof. YouTube is already a huge place for content creators to generate a lot of revenue. And so if TikTok is gone, YouTube is going to skyrocket. So do you have a strategy to be able to put in, where can we put our content on YouTube? And so I think most business owners were not forward thinking like that of, all right, this can come. In 6 months, this may go away. What is my replacement going to be if that happens? If it doesn't happen, great. Now you have two different vehicles that are performing, that are going out, creating a community, generating revenue, generating leads. But we got to think from that perspective. And that's where you brought us in on this conversation. Things are going well. Perfect. Invest the time, money, and resources to even go further.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And internally as well.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like companies sometimes oversee that. It's a chief brand officer's responsibility. Usually those positions are held in larger organizations.
Very rare.
But that doesn't mean that you can't hire a fractional CBO or you can't have a consultant acting as a CBO for project basis or for consulting basis and stints. I think that's very important because, like I said, marketing and branding, with that gap, when they're in reactive mode, they come to you and all they want is marketing.
Which essentially all they want is results.
Absolutely. So branding is like a side thought. It's back to the instant gratification. So I don't know if it's just if they're convinced, but branding is forward, is out there, is longevity, right? It's 5 years from now, right? And investing in that without having those tangible, it's a lot of gray matter. Without having those black and white, we ran this ad, they landed on this page, they converted, they set up a discovery call, John Smith. When they don't see that, I think it's harder for companies to invest. And also when they do branding and you're reporting, all they see is the results that are driven by the marketing. So like I said, they've got to work hand in hand.
100%.
So I think a lot of people struggle with how branding impacts their business with all their KPIs, especially the C-suite. They're looking at bottom line. So they're worried about this quarter, next quarter, first quarter next year, right? But they don't have anybody vision casting, looking at the 3-year mark, the 5-year mark. How do we have that constant feedback loop with our customers and clients? How do we, take their story and make it align with ours? Make them the hero of their journey. And that's evergreen, and it's constantly changing. It's both, right? So you're constantly pushing out, your mission, your principles, but then you've got to align with what your consumers. They sometimes will mold a brand, mold it badly, mold it way better. They can make or break a business.
I think branding, you're spot on. I was going to say exactly what you said. Marketing is black and white. Spend $1, you can either make $2 or you can lose $1. Like, it's crystal clear. It's either gonna work or it's not. Branding is all gray area, because a C-suite executive for big corporations, they can't really see there's a return on it. And there's not an activity you can do that can generate, all right, if we spend $10,000, can you show us that you're going to make $100,000? There's no way to prove a KPIs really or an ROI around the branding aspect of it. And when I work with a client, I always try to talk to them. Most industries are very competitive, and to where, take a dental office. There's going to be one a half mile down the street, a quarter mile down the street, an eighth of a mile down the street. And so if I'm driving past and I need a dentist, how am I going to stop in one of those offices? And you either have one of two approaches: the commodity bucket, to where there's a sign out front that says, $10 crowns. If you're focused on price, you're going to stop there. It grabs your attention, which I will never encourage a client to become a commodity. And it's the best way to kill your business. And so the second option, if you're not commodity focused and focused on a low price, is how are you different than all those other ones? And pouring the time, money, effort, energy, resources into branding is the only way you can show how you're different. Because when you build that brand around your online presence, when you build that brand around your social media platforms, you show who we are, what's important to us, your voice, how you speak. Do you speak with humor? Are you very serious? Is it entertainment that you give? Is it education that you give? What is it that makes your brand stand out? Because those are the things that are going to attract people to say, I like your vibe as a company. I like your vibe as a brand, and I want to move forward with you. And when you get that kind of following with a brand, people don't look at price as much. They say, you're $20 more, you're $50 more, you're $100 more. That's okay. I like you. I like what you stand for. And so that's the biggest problem. It's easy to get people to move forward with a marketing campaign. It's hard to get people to understand we need to focus some effort and some money on branding.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And a great reference book is I Googled it. I don't know when it was created. It's about as old as dirt.
As old as we are?
Dude is 76 now, Marty Neumeier.
Oh, yeah. The Brand Gap.
The Brand Gap. Like, he created this. I don't know when he created this. The Brand Gap, blah, blah, blah. All-time seller served.
While Jason's looking at it, we got rain going if you can hear it. It's so peaceful.
2000, was it 2003?
So nice. Let it rain.
2003?
I was going to say
that a long time ago?
Yes, over 20 years ago.
So if you've never read the Brand Gap, get you a copy on Amazon. Read it. It's amazing. It's it's such an old book, but it's so relevant. And the way he designed it where you can consume it.
Hey, what if the first 10 people that opt in for our brand visibility guide, we'll ship them out that book for free?
Absolutely.
Did y'all hear that? If you're one of the first 10, go into show notes. Sign up for the online brand visibility reports. A free report we'll give you for your brand. We'll ship you out this book as well, which will help you grow your brand.
This book, I've read it about 3 times. But what amazes me is it's been the foundation pretty much for anything else that I've read. Like, you can link it to anything with the big players. Like,
still applies today.
Yeah, Donald Miller, right?
My dog.
All the brand guys, all the whatever. That's just the one off the top of my head. Keeps it pretty simple. But Marcus Neumeier, the way he fell into that and the way he explains the brand and the brand equity and how the brand equity converts into dollars, how it ties into the valuation of your organization. It's very cool, very cool. So if you haven't, maybe you have, go check it out. It's such an interesting read. And Jay Hill's right. We got a free brand visibility report. It's not your standard report where if you go to a website and pop in your domain and get like a little quick SEO report from like SEMrush or whatever, SEO audit.
Anybody can do that.
Yeah, no, this has a human touch to it where we'll actually provide you a lot of value in hopes to kind of open your mind up to the possibilities. And you may need some help. It's a win-win, right? Yeah, go check it out. First 10, we'll send you a book. Brand Gap. Also, we got an ebook ourselves. And something just hit me. We're talking about instant gratification. I'm going to tell you a story. So, I sat down with my wife. I said, hey, babe, check out this ebook. It's freaking awesome. It's got 5 things, 5 ways to bulletproof your business. You can get started on now while you finish crafting all your workshops
and your wife's
courses.
A business owner.
Exactly.
It's relevant for her.
I said, how would you like that? So I showed her, and she says, oh, I got to give my phone number? I said, yeah. Like, this is valuable. This could increase your revenue, 3-fold within the next 12 months. That's a lot of money. She was like, that's too much. I feel like someone's going to reach out and contact me. So I'm sitting there thinking, I said, babe, I get a lot of text messages from e-commerce stores where you want a 20% off discount. And I guess the computer auto-populates. She's got me saved in there. So sometimes I get those text messages where she opts in for that 20% discount when she's shopping. And I said, babe,
So she's giving her phone number?
Oh, easy. All day, every day. I said, so you'll give your phone number to an e-commerce store for a 20% discount, but you won't give your phone number to download a killer piece of value that if you follow, it will generate additional income and help you bulletproof your business. He was like, absolutely. I said, why? She said, because that discount I'm getting right now. I said, wow, okay. I mean, that told me something. Either A, what you're offering has to be so valuable, and you really have to message and hone in on the fact that they can get started today, or that they can start seeing results soon or fast, or, implement now. But the moment you put in, hey, you might have to do a little bit of work, and it might take a little bit of time, then that value driver goes down.
That's interesting.
Right?
What it makes me think of is needs versus wants. With e-commerce, it's typically something we want. It's a new shirt. It's a new pair of shoes. It's a new computer. It's a new phone. It's something that we don't necessarily need. It's a want. So when that discount comes in, boom, sign me up. When it's stuff on the business, you have this ebook. Hey, if you implement these 5 steps, you're going to recession-proof your business. You're going to bulletproof your business. You're going to set it up way above your competitors. That all sounds good, and we know it'll help a business. But I don't know the percentages, but I would say there's a handful, a very small percentage, like 1 to 3% of businesses that are real proactive. They're investing in their businesses. They're spending money on personal development, professional development, buying courses, buying resources to help them grow. So I don't think people truly see that value versus, well, I want this over here. I don't think I need this stuff for my business. And that's why business takes so much more nurturing and touch points of delivering value, to where then, go back to the branding, let's get you in that emotional state, and now you're ready to buy. The emotional state, she got a 20% coupon. What happened to her emotional state? Woo! I'm going to get a discount. Hey, honey, look how much money I saved on this pretty dress. Instead of $1,000, I got it for $750.
Oh, I don't know if it was that, but
whatever it was. You're hoping it wasn't that.
I'm hoping it wasn't. Hoping.
That's interesting, though.
So that really, I don't want to say I knew that, but I think you've got to take that in consideration. Especially with your target market, and they're being saturated. It's the perception of value. How do they perceive value?
Another point with that. So we work together to build the ebook and to build the online visibility report. And it's like for any business that's out there listening, you need to build a funnel to where you're offering something and delivering it to them, and then nurture them out content. And it goes into messaging. How, we have some younger team members. So Jason and I are mid-40s here. We have some team members that are fresh out of college, 20, 21 years old kind of a thing. We speak different languages. And so as we're mocking up the copy for this thing, I remember we put, you're tired of your competitors eating your lunch, right? If you're our age, you know what that means. And we got the younger members, they're looking at us like, what? Why are they eating lunch? Like they didn't understand. And we laughed about it, but it brings up a really good point. You have to understand who your audience is and how they communicate. And so if I have a business and B2B business, like what we traditionally do, if my audience is more the Gen Zs, I need to speak their language. If it's more the millennials, baby boomers kind of a thing that understand eating your lunch, I need to speak that. So neither one of them is wrong, but you got to speak to your audience. And, with anybody that's listening, when you have like a landing page and you're going from an ad, you need to track this data. You need to track these analytics. So you can drive 100 people to your landing page, but if nobody's opting in, there's a disconnect there. And copy is the first thing I look at. It's like, are you crystal clear in what you're saying? So maybe it's something like that, like eating your lunch versus losing out to your competition. And that's why marketing is testing. And so many people that we talk to, it's like, test it over and over and over again. Do split tests of 2 different landing pages or 2 different ad sets and to see which one converts the most. And then once you figure that out, hone in. And that goes into what we're talking about with marketing. You know, C-level executives, typically, it's like they want that. I'm going to spend money. I want to see a return quickly. Marketing is a long play. Marketing is testing and find out what works. But then once you figure out what works, you can turn the faucet on, invest a little more money, and you can really increase your leads or your revenue. But people don't understand that testing because you said it, instant gratification. We want it right now. I'm expecting if I put money in on these marketing campaigns, by next week, I better have a return. There's a lot of pressure that gets put on marketing agencies. And I like to set those expectations up front that, hey, this is a long play. And we're going to test.
And it doesn't help. Online businesses and consultants, they've saturated the internet. Okay. Right? They're on everybody's feed. They're like, hey, do this, don't even sell. We'll bring you clients. We'll service the clients.
We'll do it all.
We'll do it all. And scale your agency. And you're just like, huh.
My dad always said, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
So, but you would be surprised. And this goes across the board in every industry. These same pitches are coming by. And now with the introduction of AI, they come up with all these reasons. Oh, it's automated with a click of a button, this and that. Don't get me wrong, AI, it's out of the bag. It's here. It's not going anywhere. You need to leverage AI. You need to learn how to implement AI and utilize it for what it is. Let's don't go and start kicking out web copy and this and that and just plopping it online or writing posts. It still requires that touch because, right now Google is even penalizing stuff that you're getting from AI, which is very contradictory because, Google itself has an AI.
Its own AI.
And so think of AI like when we invented the car. They invented the car. That's AI. Then they were just like, oh, crap, people were getting into accidents. They don't know which side of the road to drive on. So they, put stop signs up and said, oh, we need a road divider so they know which side to drive on because they're having head-on collisions. It's so fast and furious. It's just like the car. So it's out of the bag, and now everyone else is just trying to keep up. Think about it. Who's liable for AI? They. That's
they,
them. Now they have telehealth.
Yeah.
AI telehealth. So I don't know. What if for some reason their information is incorrect and something wrong? Somebody's responsible, right? The AI, the company, and I went to a seminar and he seemed to think that in the future, AI, if you have AI associated with your business and there's any potential risk, then maybe that's more of an insurance. So you'll need to carry an AI insurance line item for your company. So just for AI.
Interesting.
Because the liability factor, let's face it, it's a bunch of servers, and that's why the NVIDIA chips, they just boomed up because AI is based off performance. It's based off of hardware. So response time, feedback, is centralized in a brain and a hardware. So that's why you see all these companies, and Facebook has invested so much in their hardware they had for the metaverse, and that went. So now they've got the hardware there. That's why they're making, big moves in the AI space because they've got the hardware.
Yeah.
So anyway, food for thought. Think about it as you integrate AI.
Speaking of AI, yesterday they made an announcement. OpenAI did with ChatGPT. They released or showed ChatGPT 4.0. not 4.5, but 4.0. The O stands for omni. It does audio, visual, and text together. And so the example they had a phone. And so I'm pretty sure what's going to come from this is that this Chat GPT 4.0 is going to be the new Siri. And so, which I have disabled on my phone anyway, but the example they showed, they're doing a math problem on a sheet of paper. And it was like 1x plus 7 equals whatever. And so when they cut on the Siri, which is the Chat GPT 4.0, cuts on the camera and the audio, and it looks at the math problem, and they're talking to it. They're like, hey, Siri, or whatever the name was, how am I supposed to solve this problem? So the camera's on, it's looking at it. It's like, hey, you're going to want to get all the X's on one side and all the numbers on the other, kind of a thing. So it's like, all right, I'm going to try this. And it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. The response time was incredibly fast. The intuition of being able to pick up, the machine learning, the voice sounded more like you're talking to your spouse as opposed to like this robotic woman. It's interesting where we're headed with AI, and what's happening with that. But ChatGPT 4.0 should be coming out soon.
And there's a value perception that's AI. It could spin out analytics. It's probably way more superior at doing a deep dive on analytics for companies. I met with a gentleman, and so I'm not going to say who it is, but anyway, this other organization, they had a bunch of techs and analysts, and they could perform this awesome work over about 6 months and have this awesome analysis and say, look, this is what we found, this is all the R&D, blah blah blah. And then they find out there's a tiny mistake 6 months after that. So they go a year, and they lose about $500,000 in revenue. Then they've got to adjust it and recoup it that following year. So that's a 2-year mark. So this company has AI analytics now, this other company, to where they can feed all this information in, produce those same results within a month. So instead of 6 months, within a month, and only use half the bandwidth. Now, does that mean it should be cheaper? No.
Not to me.
No, because now they have the time to do what matters the most, is implementation with those results. And if they need to make a shift, they're doing it in a shorter amount of time. It's not a 2-year progression. It's a 6-month progression. So AI, if used appropriately, use them for the stuff that you spend time on that honestly you shouldn't be spending time on. The foundational stuff, the creating content calendars, foundations for write-ups.
Well, even graphics and video, AI is a tool. People need to remember that. It's not a replacement for a human. It's a tool that humans can use to be more efficient, to be more productive. And if you leverage it from that capacity, think of like Photoshop. So often we're removing the background and we're, tweaking the image. There's these plugins, AI plugins within Photoshop that in the click of a finger, snap of a finger, click of a mouse, it edits that photo to the finished result beautifully. And to where you don't need to spend all these times. And there's a lot of people that feel threatened, designers. They're like, AI is going to replace me. It's like, no, how can you leverage AI to be so much more productive? Like you're saying, free up so much of your time to where you can do more now using that tool. To be able to snip videos, have a long video like this podcast we're filming right now, in 10 minutes, have it cut all this up for you. And then, you can have captions on it. You can put it on your social. You can put it on your website. You can send it out an email. You can do all these things. And so it allows you to work smarter, not harder. And, so often I think an agency or somebody that's, a strategic marketing kind of consultant, it's our job to know what are the best tools out there of how we can grow your business. Because if, there's only so many hours in a day that we can work, right? So how can I be most productive, most efficient in the time that I have, to steward that time well for a client? And if I can find the best softwares, the best tools to use and go to my client and be like, hey, what we used to could do that would take a month, we're now going to be able to do it in a week. like you said, the price doesn't drop because you can do it faster. No, it opens up more opportunity for more work. It goes back to how we started this conversation. Things that are going well, now we're going to add on something else because we freed up more time, leveraging AI. Now we're going to add something else because we're leveraging AI. So use it as a tool. But people, too often, they get stuck on the shiny object syndrome. AI is cool. AI, the buzz. Look at all that. I'm going to go out here. And we go on it for a little bit, then we stop. Then we go over here and we stop. And we don't truly work on the things that matter for our business, the foundational things that we should be working on day in and day out, because we're over here chasing these trends, because you have all these influencers online that are talking about all these trends. If you see somebody that's in front of a Lamborghini, a Porsche, or a mansion, run the other way.
Now don't get me wrong.
Except for Grant Cardone.
The impact is huge. It will take a lot of people's current job roles and minimize them so much they may be irrelevant. And if the company doesn't adapt, or the individual doesn't adapt and learn how to leverage it into a new role, into a new position, then there will be an impact. Don't get me wrong, as it continues to morph. But it's going to open up a whole lot more opportunity, right? It's like my friend used the term like when refrigeration was created, right? Think of all the businesses that spawned off of that. Coca-Cola. It's like that. It's going to spawn all these new opportunities. So if you can't stay stagnant, per se, and just ignore it, I think that's not a good approach. But you got to leverage it. Example, say there's an accountant. He's got 10 clients. He does all their work, right? All manual, this, use the software. Well, now, instead of him having 10 clients, he may be able to have 20 clients leveraging AI that he trains, that he oversees, that he references and delegates. So now he can handle more clientele doing the same output.
100%.
So he's training. So take that into consideration. If you have other accountants that don't do that, then as you can see, as these companies get more jobs and more opportunities, then opportunities become less for the other companies, right? And then eventually they're going to fade out. So, yeah.
100%.
Got to change.
And I mean, there's things like, let's say, car production. If a robot AI could be created that can do something in half the time that 20 people would typically take, you'd be foolish as a company not to implement the robots. I mean, everybody's going to be fighting for that. And that's what they're working on for production type of things. But things where it's tools where humans can use, because you got to remember the way that we leverage AI in marketing is that one of us is telling the AI what to do. It's giving us results. It's giving us data. But somebody is there like programming it, typing a prompt, giving a script and say, give me this information. Because with like ChatGPT for copy and text, it's a glorified Google of research. What we used to do in the past, go to Google, what are the best ways to do email marketing? The articles will come up, you click through, you read some stuff. Now it's just doing the same thing, but it's giving you something right there where you don't have to click on all these articles and look at it. So it's just an increased, more efficient way to do that. And it's going to evolve and get better and better. But somebody has to drive the AI. And so I encourage people that are threatened by AI taking their job, you might have to pivot your job a little bit. How can you create value to your employer or your clients if you own your own business, and to show that you are valuable, you bring value to your organization? If you just sit and do the same thing where AI is going to put you out of a job, if you don't present yourself in a way that can add value, you are going to get replaced.
No, exactly. And you got other ones you can try. You can try Perplexity, where it actually gives you citations of all the results, which is very helpful. Instead of ChatGPT, you just get it, and you're just like, this must be true. But Perplexity, for instance, it will actually give you the results and give you the citations everywhere. So you can actually conduct your own kind of R&D and say, I don't know, I don't judge this source, I don't agree with, right? It actually gives you the sources of where it's pulling from. Perplexity. That's a new one for you guys. You might already know it, but if you don't, check it out. And then check out Sumo. Sumo, if you need a jingle or something for your business, just go to Perplexity, say, write me a song for my business, input information about your business, what you do, and who you serve, and it will actually spit out lyrics and take it over to Sumo and say, I'd like a rock song. And there you go. In about 15 seconds, it will spit you out a song that you can utilize on your social media, on your website. Have fun with it, and it's all yours, royalty free. So even that right there, think about that. That takes away, your professional recording artists, right? That takes away people that you would reach out and say, I need this jingle created. Can you write me a song? You've got a songwriter. Then you've got, a sound dude, sound guy, right? Then you've got production. Well, now you can create it in 15 minutes and go check it out. Play around with it. It is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. So
there's another one. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on the name. Maybe a Soma.
The video.
Yes.
So
where you can take pictures, give it pictures, and it'll create like a production. It'll create a show or a movie or some kind of video from just pictures that you upload. So you can give it pictures and basically tell it, hey, create a drama, of these kids in the woods with a bear. Show a couple pictures. Then all of a sudden, you have this rolling footage coming in over a lake into the dense woods and a bear and kids and all this stuff. And these movie production companies, I mean, they are extremely threatened by that, which they should be. But it's wild.
So I just had an idea, a new way to bring value if you're a wedding photographer, right? What about as a part of your package, you're going to say, you know what, and we're going to give you a custom theme song for your wedding, right? And that's a big value. It doesn't take them a lot to create. But think about the people, the couple that just got married. They're seeing these awesome photos and videos. And next thing you know, they hear this custom song about how they met. Heck, maybe they just copy it off the knot and pop it into Sumo, right? And spit it out. Make it hip-hop, rock, love ballad, you name it. And then they hear a custom song. Think about how much value and just how much they will remember that and just talk about it to the friends. Oh my gosh, you've got to hear this. You can't believe what this company did. That's a freebie if you're a photography.
Well, hold on. Now I'm going to take it further. So I'm not a photographer, but you piqued my interest. I'm going to find the top photographers in North Carolina. I'm going to go follow them on their account. They're going to post pictures of their most recent weddings. They're going to tag the people, the bride and the groom that were on there. I'm going to click on the bride and groom. I'm going to send them a DM, tell them I can create a custom song for them for their special occasion. Look how easy you can tap into. You can do any business you want. You see that there's a need, you see that there's a problem, and come in and offer that solution for them. We laugh and we're saying this in joking, but if I spent the time, I could sell that. I could pay this monthly fee for this software to spit out these jingles for me, and I could go out to those people. Every 100 people that I reach out to, get 1, 2, 10. There's a business out there for anything.
That reminds me, Hermosi. Alex. He did a post, and I just thought it was hilarious. He was, I guess, working maybe with a couple college kids, and it was Entrepreneur 101 or whatever, business startups. And their whole goal was to start a business. And, he came back to him like a month later and was like, well, did you get the LLC set up? No, not yet, just hadn't had the time, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, guys, it's like 4 steps or 3 steps. Go to LegalZoom, set up an LLC. 5 minutes. Take it to the bank, open an account, right? He said, then find something that somebody will buy from you. Don't worry about the details. If you're just thinking about starting a business or this is your first business, he said, don't get stuck in the details. Just start working, right? Start selling. Set up an LLC, create your account, and start selling. Definitely have something that someone wants to buy, or maybe they don't want to buy. But once you figure that out, that's when you start learning about being an entrepreneur. That's when you start learning about
100%
selling. It's about movement. People, they will get stuck very easily, right? Like, hey, I didn't have time to set up that LLC, right? It's 5 minutes on LegalZoom.
You make time for what's important.
5 minutes. Then you just go to the bank. Or heck, you could probably even do it online now.
Absolutely. Are banks even around?
Get an account. Hook it up to a merchant account. Sell your widgets or whatever. Just start. So I think the whole lesson was like, that's why a lot of people fail, is they never start, right? Start somewhere. And don't expect, he said, your first business, don't expect to become a millionaire and retire. Each business, that's how you learn. Look at it as a learning opportunity. Your next business, you may make money. It may, go off, or that business may morph down the road. But get started. Don't look at it as I'm going to make money, right?
So true. I don't know about you, but one of the best things for me learning was like on the job of doing the work. It's not about going to school and what you learn in school. It's not about watching a video tutorial or a course or reading a book. Those are all valuable things that contribute. But doing the work and seeing, oh, this didn't work. This is how I can do that better. Or making these tweaks, making these improvements. But it's like being an apprentice to somebody that's doing the work, to a business owner, is the most valuable thing that you could do. I'm going to raise my daughter that way before she turns 18. If she chooses college or she doesn't, I'm going to let her or encourage her to apprentice these different organizations. Work with me. Work with different organizations. That's the best opportunity for learning.
Who's the owner of AppSumo? Who's that guy?
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I should know. Anyway, I was listening to something. AppSumo's software company. I think it was a guy started or whatnot, still there. Anyway, the way he suggested when he had a new business idea or something, he would say, you know what? He would want to sell a dozen, right? He'd want to pre-sell a dozen. Necessarily pre-sale, but pitch it and see if people would buy it.
If there's interest.
If there's interest before he even started. So think about that. If you have an idea, say you've got this idea to sell, some kind of little gadget, or you want to start a company to develop websites or promotional material or something, whatever. I don't know. Try to sell it. Don't get stuck in the weeds saying, I've got to have all this stuff into place, blah, blah, blah. Call people, say, hey, this is what I got. This is how much it is. Are you interested? Right? You go through 12 people, you get all hard passes, then,
Got work to do.
You got work to do.
But that's valuable information.
Valuable.
Think if you spent weeks, months, years getting it all ready to launch, built, and it looks good. Your website's good, it's slick, you got animations and transitions, all that stuff. Then you go to launch it, and you're checking your dashboard for your merchant account, and you got nothing. You got no opt-ins because you didn't check with your market first. Is there a need out there? So Alex Hormozy, to be able to encourage those kids with that, it's like, just do the work. And there's so much opportunity to create something, but don't get into the details of making it look so perfect. I'm guilty of that. That speaks to me.
Absolutely. I think it speaks to everybody at some point, right?
Well, because we talk about it often. It's like, I'm all about excellence. But sometimes that can prevent growth and can delay a project, because is it ever good enough? At what point is it good enough to launch? And if excellence is your top driver, kind of like me, can always just, and I get into the finite, the minute little details of, some tweaks. At some point, you got to say it's good enough. And I think we talked about it before. It's like you can shift the excellence perspective to where, if I'm doing client work, there should never be a misspelling on a graphic that I send to them. There should not be any of those things. Spacing should be proper. It should be lined up. All the brand elements in the brand guide, we should be excellent in those things. But with design, that starts to get subjective. And so just be excellent in all those elements, and the rest will follow.
And that was a hard lesson for me. I had to be involved from everything, from the initial meeting to creative to implementation to execution, to final delivery, to spot checking delivery, because in my head, if I wasn't involved in every step, in every macro,
it wouldn't be done right.
Micro detail, it would not be done right.
Right.
And how in the heck is that scalable?
It's not. You're a boutique agency that handles a handful of clients.
Yeah, and even that, it's just crazy to me.
So if somebody's struggling with that, how would you encourage them to get through that, to let that go? Trust your team that you hire?
I think that's the biggest thing. It took a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. It's not an instant gratification per se. Or
takes time.
It takes time, but I think I heard something, and it was just so profound. It was like, and I've said this probably numerous times. Your goal is to constantly replace yourself. Mm-hmm. With people that are way smarter than you, right? I'm never the smartest person in the room, nor do I want to be.
Absolutely.
Right? So that was kind of like, I heard that and it was so profound. I was like that. Yeah, man. I mean, because I'm not going to be doing this. I eventually am going to be doing something else. I'm eventually going to be overseeing this. I'm eventually going to be starting this. I'm eventually going to go into this field. I'm eventually going to be coaching, and then people started asking me questions. I'm like, man, I think I know something about this stuff. So maybe I should hire people, right? Maybe I should train people.
Well, you were working so much in your business. You said you're like, how can I scale if I'm in there from the very beginning to all these comps, to the quality control, to every detail? You're working in your business. You can't scale. Now, where you're taking it is you want to work on your business. Bring those people in to work in your business and do all those things. You work on your business so you can scale it and grow it. And I think for business owners, that's one of the hardest things to do. They've been working for so many decades in their business, and now it's like, hold on, I have to let those reins go, let somebody else, trust somebody else to do it while I work on the business. But that is the only way you can ever grow a business if that's one of your goals.
Absolutely. And it's easier to say than do. Mm-hmm. I've seen so many people hire CEOs and, different kind of C-suite and presidents, and they'll hire them, a year later, the owner's like, what's going on? Revenue's down, this is down, culture's shot, and they've got to come back in. And because nobody takes ownership.
Right.
If you don't give your brand, your organization breathing room for people to where they can be a part of it, where they can feel ownership, where they feel like they've got a say, where they feel like what they do matters, where there's a common mission, and it can be a simple mission to bring honest branding and marketing to the world, right? Because there's a lot of it that's just cray-cray. I mean, simple stuff to enjoy what you do, to bring passion. And as you know, Jay Hill, I'm not about roles. I'm about what are you good at? What's your strengths? What are you passionate about, right? And I try to take that and allow people that flexibility to do what they love. It's not like, if I'm like, Jonathan, I want you to work in Photoshop every day and do this, you would be like, oh my gosh, I know Photoshop, but I don't love it, right? I would hate to edit photos and do Photoshop every day, right?
Yeah. What do I always say? What's the best use of somebody's time?
Yeah, and that's probably not your best use. You got that little screen, so you can only see but so much.
About 11.6 inches.
Oh, but it's the same way across the board. And then how do you take all these strengths and weaknesses and put them together to where they can harmonize off each other, right? You got somebody really good in integrations and technical, people that are good with communication and strategy, people that are good with social media and these talents that can create content on the fly. How do you take all these skills and merge them to where they can produce a holistic harmony for a brand, right? And then how do you convey that to a company and brand, what you're doing, the music that you're producing, how much value is creating, right? Because it's twofold. But
I think you need to, as a leader of an organization, it's your vision. If you own this business, it's your vision. So you need to build your team, and you need to know what you need. And it just made me think of that show. The Voice show, where like they had the 4 judges, like John Legend, Blake Shelton, Gwen Stefani, all those, and they're picking their teams, and their chairs are turned around, and they can't see who it is, but they want to pick a team and try to win by the end with the best singer just based on their voice. And so often, all these singers are really good, and you'll see judges that pass up on somebody that has an amazing singing voice because they already had that person on the team, and they were waiting for that other person that had a different sound to add to the team. And so it's like when you're choosing team members, let's say we could interview for a position, find somebody, be like, oh man, they are amazing at this. But let's say we already have that person. We already have the implementer or the strategy or this or that. You pass on them, doesn't mean they were bad. They just don't fit when you need the right people on the bus. You can't have a whole team of strategists and no implementers. You're not getting anything done. You can't have a whole team of implementers, Could you imagine that? Could you imagine a meeting with 10 people that are all strategy?
Oh, gosh.
The whiteboard is just full. There's flow charts and everything, and then nothing gets done. But you can't have a team full of implementers with no strategy. You just have the people waiting, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. So you have to have the right team members in place that work hand in hand, that do create that symphony of all the music. You hear one thing, it sounds good, but you put it all together and you create a masterpiece. And so, you talk about positions. My background in corporate, when I was in corporate and really in it, I was climbing the ladder. It's at least what I was looking for because my identity was in a title. I started off moving on up, man. I started as a coordinator, which there's nothing in that. But hey, if I put in the work, I can become supervisor. And then if I become supervisor, I can become manager. Once I'm manager, I could be a senior manager. Then I can be a director. Then I can be a senior director. Then I could be a vice president. Then I could be boom. And it's just constantly one thing after another to where identity's in a title. The title doesn't matter. And once I quit corporate, it was like titles are just different responsibilities. The president of my company is no different than me. He just has different responsibilities than what I do on my day to day. And so that's what I love more about entrepreneurship versus corporate is that we don't care about titles. It's just let's get crap done.
Get her done. Get her done.
On that note,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be on the lookout for the next episode. And, of course, check out the free brand visibility report.
Go into show notes.
Guess we'll be giving out books if you come on.
That's right. If you're joining late, the Brand Gap, hop in. The first 10 people that sign up for the brand visibility report, it's yours free. We'll ship it out.
Educate. And also there was something else that go download Bulletproof Your Business.
Put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, show notes.
Somewhere down. Peace.
Thanks for listening and joining us on the Love Your Brand podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, share the love.